Do you ever find yourself caught in a loop of life? Bad relationships nonstop. You can't catch a break, up and down with your weight, financial stress constantly. These is what I call human patterns. Welcome to today's training, guys. Today we're going to talk about exactly how we can break the pattern of being ourselves so we can step into the higher version of ourselves, the confident, the abundant version of ourselves that we know is in there. We know is possible. We can feel it almost. But yet we're stuck in this miserable cycle, almost like a prison that's trapped us in. That's what we're going to talk about today on exactly how to break free from this once and for all. Now, you'll see me look down because I do have notes today because this is going to be a very, very powerful training. So when it comes to this, we're going to talk about exactly how, first of all, I'm going to share with you my personal story. So I'm going to share with you exactly how I broke free from old limiting beliefs and patterns and fears that were keeping me stuck in my life. I'll give you a story example on a financial situation, but also I used to be so stuck just in my body, my health, and my confidence. I felt like I was living life on airplane mode, like I was not the creator. Instead, I was more so in the victim mindset. Like life is just happening to me and I'm just stuck and I can't change. And every time I do, I end up in a huge wall, in a struggle, in a pattern, and I'm back to square one again. This was my life for many years up until recently when I finally realized these patterns and actually how to break free from it. Now, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Khaden.Hayward. I run an online coaching and community based exactly around dream chasers, driven seekers, people who want to step into the highest version of themselves physically and mentally. So that way you can live a life that you actually enjoy, something that is fulfilling for you, that has purpose. So let's talk about it. So first and foremost, let me give you a little story, guys, about me, my own personal experience. Now, I, for one, my first pattern I'll share with you here is about finances. So for me, my old belief systems, and I'm going to talk to you about where these old belief systems, patterns, fears, and stuff come up for many of us. But for me, I was stuck in this constant pattern for years and years when it came to my finances. I had old limiting beliefs that I was not aware of around finances, such as money is very hard to make. When you make money, you experience a ton of stress. Making money is very overwhelming. These are limiting beliefs that I had in the background playing in my subconscious mind that I wasn't even aware of in my life. Now, mind you though, every time I noticed that I would hit a new record when it came to my financial growth, what would happen is really quickly after I would self-sabotage. Things would go downhill very fast. And I didn't plan it. I didn't want it to happen. But yet it always happened over and over again. It was this constant cycle. And I was so stressed out because I would be doing great and then everything would just start tumbling down. And I experienced this crazy overwhelm and stress. And that's when I realized I was stuck in a freaking pattern. Every time I hit a new record, every time I hit this certain cap in my financial growth, my goals, I would end up going backwards. Now this drove me crazy. Lucky enough, I journal and I reflect back constantly on my own patterns. So once I was able to notice this, I finally broke free. And let me tell you, it is unbelievable the changes that happen moving forward because you literally become a brand new person because you break the pattern of being yourself. And therefore, you step into a new identity, a new version of you, new possibilities. It was the same thing for my health and my fitness. Like I struggled for years and years with insecurities in and out of the gym, couldn't stay consistent with it until I changed the pattern of who I was. Now, you might be asking now, what are these patterns that you're talking about, Khaden? Patterns come in many forms. It comes in habits, right? It comes in cycles of life. It comes into your thoughts, your feelings, your belief system, how you react to certain events when they show up in your world. These are all consistent patterns that are living in robotic mode. Now, the reason why, well, let's talk about it. The reason why is because the human brain, the way that we're designed, our brain, is that its number one objective is to keep you safe and secure. It just wants you to stay alive. And growing up until the age of 7, you have what we call mirroring neurons. What this means is that you are like a sponge absorbing the world. So through culture, through society, through environment, through parents, childhood experiences that don't even need to make sense, we start to form these belief systems and ideas about ourselves, and it helps shape our reality. And the reason why is because the brain is basically taking all these experiences, right? And it's known now, so it's common. It knows these experiences are safe, and it creates it into this prison. And that's who you end up becoming, your identity. And this all lives in what we call the subconscious mind, that literally 96% of your life is lived in the subconscious mind, around 94, 96%. So in your subconscious mind is where your habits, your belief systems are, your traumas, the whole 9 yards. Now, this, we can really see the proof in this, the proof in the pudding, if we look at many things in life. For example, winning the lottery. Look at people who win the lottery. People who are broke before and win the lottery, what I would call a poor mindset, they end up going broke again years after. Winning all that chunk of change isn't going to change their life whatsoever long term, because they're still stuck in old patterns, old thinking and belief systems that are causing them to stay stuck in their financial situation. Now, same thing with, if you notice who kids, for example, very sadly, kids who are abused when they're younger often find themselves in abusive relationships in the future. Logically, we know it doesn't make any sense, but emotionally and in their subconscious mind, that is what's safe and secure. That's what's always was known for them. So they'll tend to find it over and over again in their lives until they break the pattern of being themselves. Same thing with your happiness. Same thing with anything that you can think of that can connect to a pattern and a belief system. It is what it is. It's crazy. It's really crazy stuff here. So that's kind of how it works. That's how the brain works as us as humans and how we function and stay alive. Now, the tricky part comes is, how do we break through this, right? How do we break through this? Because I'm going to share with you here the process. And let me tell you, like, you're going to go through pain. You're going to go through pain. It's going to be uncomfortable. I want you to think of this transformation, breaking the pattern of being yourself, as like you're just this little bug slug thing, and you're entering a cocoon into becoming the butterfly. The butterfly is the desire that you have in your heart. Maybe it's that dream that you want. Maybe it's that new career, that partner, that dream relationship, the body, the health. It's that desire that you have that's burning in your heart that you know is almost like meant for you. You want it so bad. But then we are stuck in the bug stage because we're not willing to go through the cocoon, because the cocoon is unknown. We don't know how long we're going to be in there. It's very scary. It's unknown. We've never done it before. So we'd rather just stay in the bug phase because that's what's always been known. That's what's safe and secure. So you always have this idea of like, wow, look at all those beautiful butterflies out there. I see them online in the online world, right? These major successes. Look at all the beautiful butterflies. They look amazing. They're living the best life ever. I wish I could be that. It is you. That is meant for you. But the reason why you're not there yet is because we're not going through the cocoon stage, because we're allowing fear, doubt, ego to hold us back and keep us stuck in these consistent patterns to keep us safe and secure, which means stuck. So how do we break through this? How do we actually break through this once and for all? Now, let's go through it. So it's all programming, right? It's all just programming that's in us. So the first thing that we want to do here is, and let me give you an example too. So actually, I guess I shared about the financial situation, right? I'd have the big highs, and the next thing you know, after these highs, I'd start experiencing major stress and overwhelm, right? And I'd end up self-sabotaging. But the reason why this happened is because I caused it myself. It was my internal belief system. Growing up, I came up with the beliefs that money is very stressful, money is very hard to make, money is very overwhelming. So even though logically I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't have to be true, emotionally and in my belief system, it was true. And that's what matters most, because your brain will always try to find a way to prove itself right. Your brain doesn't want to be wrong. So it will create that experience for you. It will create that reality for you. And that's why you might be thinking like, why am I so stuck? I'm trying. I've done the big programs. I've done so many diets. I've hired so many mentors. But the problem is that the plan isn't going to fix you. The plan might get you a little taste of what it's like, but if you don't change your actual self, your thoughts, your belief systems, your patterns, who you are as a person, if that doesn't change, you go back to square one eventually. Might take 5 months, might take 5 years. You will go back to your old patterns and ways of being. It will drag you back there over and over and over again. This is one of the reasons why the clients here in my community, my coaching programs, have such an amazing success rate. It's nothing crazy or special. We just understand human patterns and how to change ourselves. And a lot of the work comes through the mind. So let's dive into here. Number one, first step you got to do here is you got to recognize the patterns that you're living in, right? So for me, it was, okay, a huge financial success, a huge new record in my growth goals, and then boom, self-sabotage back down, and it'd be this constant cycle for years. That's a pattern, right? I'm in the gym, I'm trying to lose weight, and I always gain it back over and over again. That's a pattern. I tend to get in these terrible relationships where people cheat on me or abuse me mentally or whatever it may be. That's a pattern, okay? Those are all patterns, things that you don't enjoy, things that cause you a lot of pain, suffering, overwhelm. Those are typically, you'll find patterns in those situations, okay? So that's the first thing is we got to catch the pattern first. Do a very deep reflection. Number two, have an anchor. Know what it is that you want. You have to know what it is that you want so that way you know that you actually want to change, right? We only know if we want to change if we know there's something better or something more that we desire, right? So you got to know what you actually genuinely want for yourself. Okay, so first reflect, find the pattern, know what you want differently. If you don't know what you want, just know what you don't want, right? Khaden, my clients will tell me, Khaden, I don't know what I want. Well, what do you don't want? Well, I don't want to have low energy. I don't want to be mentally struggling all the time. I don't want to have low confidence where I can't talk to people. Okay, well then you do know what you want then, right? By knowing what you don't want. So you got to know what it is that you want, or at least what it is that you don't want. Now, the next one is you got to change your mind around pain, because here's what's going to happen is that naturally you're going to go through this cycle again, okay? But this is what you got to do. The next time around when this cycle is happening, you have to catch yourself and realize that you're in the cycle, you're in the pattern. And then you're going to come to a crossroads, all right, in this pattern. You can stay in the abusive relationship. As soon as you see the patterns or the signs that your partner is starting to be that way, right? You can stay there because that's what's comfortable, that's what's safe and secure. You're attached to it. And that's, by the way, that's where suffering comes in through, right? Attachment. Or you can go the other way. And you say, no, this is a pattern. I realize what's going on now, and I'm not having this anymore. I am going to break this pattern. And you can leave that situation. And then what we call is you're going into the unknown. So you're now going into a brand new realm that you've never been in before. And this is where the pain and the fear and the doubt and old limiting beliefs and trauma start to pop up for you. Because now what's happening in your brain is that you're entering into the unknown, the abyss. And your brain's like, yo, you got to get back. You got to get back here. This is so unsafe. You're going to die out here. I don't know what's going to happen, right? Your animalistic programming is trying to drag you back. So it's going to pop up a ton of fear, a ton of doubt, a ton of just stuff that's going to pop up in your life that's going to try to drag you back to those old patterns. And you can do that if you want, but if you actually want to grow and change and ascend, you can't step back in those old patterns. So how do we go through this? First of all, change your idea around what pain means to you. Many of us try to avoid pain in life, but here's the thing, you'll never grow and get better if you're not willing to go through some sort of pain, right? You want to get stronger in the gym. Okay, well, you're going to have to cause some pain to those muscles, right? You're going to have to stress the muscles to grow. If you want to build a business, you're going to have to contract yourself. You're going to have to invest a ton, step into that scary unknown to make your dreams come true. You want to build your body, right? You're going to have to invest in getting some help, or you're going to have to go on this long journey of figuring it out, of the ups and downs, the self-judgment, hating on yourself, comparing yourself. You're going to have to remove all that baggage. These are all things that will cause pain. But here's what happens. Most of us as people, when we experience pain, we retreat, right? We go back into the old patterns because we think, well, this shouldn't be happening. Why is this pain happening? Pain is not good. I need to get away from pain. So we leave. the situation. But guess what? That's how you suffer. Because you're holding on. You're attaching yourself to the problems, the situations. You're holding on to pain. It's like having a thorn in your body and you're keeping the thorn in there. You're going to have suffering then. Because you know what you want is over there, but you're keeping yourself stuck in a prison where you don't even want to be in. And that is literally suffering for no reason. We don't need to. So what we need to do is we need to have courage or a guide or someone or something to help us get through this pain. And the best way to get through the pain, guys, entering the cocoon phase, is to change your idea around pain. For me now, I walk through pain like it's a beautiful nature walk. Doesn't mean I don't experience fear and all these old, terrible feelings. I feel it all. But I'm willing to go through it because I know the patterns. I know I've been down this road before. I'm willing to go through it because I know on the other side is exactly what I want. Like, put me in that cocoon phase right now. So change your idea around pain. When I'm going through terrible or stressful times in my life and painful times, I get excited now because I know that I'm not going to repeat my patterns. I'm going to grow through them and become something so much more and better. The unknown is actually the place that you want to be in because that's where constant growth is happening in your life. And I want you to think of this as a ascending spiral. So many of us look at progress as kind of a linear based thing. Look at progress as a spiral. And every time the spiral goes in, that's contraction. And every time it goes upwards and it ascends is expansion. So in life, let's say, you're trying to lose weight. You're working out for months and months and months and months. Okay, you're contracting. You're not getting results, but you're putting in the work. But then eventually you wake up and you have so much strength and confidence and self-belief. You're expanding like crazy. You're this whole new identity. And then at that point there, you're going to go through another mini contraction, but it'll be a little bit easier because you've been down this road before. And then you'll keep expanding. You'll keep growing and getting better and having new goals and new opportunities in life. That is the ascending spiral. The problem with most of us nowadays is that we stay in a loop. We don't want to ascend because we have these belief systems that fear and pain is, you got to avoid it. You got to get away from it. It's scary. It's not safe, right? That's where we let the ego, the mind, control us and not the soul. The soul is that desire in you. It's that burning desire that's like, hey, I want to feel better. I want to change. I want to get out of this job. I want to live a better freaking life. What are we doing keeping ourselves so capped out and limited? You want to live the rest of your life like that? No, your soul is screaming at you for that. But many of us, when that happens, is that we distract ourselves. We put it off. We hold it off. We come up with excuses that sound good only to us and our ego, right? We distract ourselves through social media, food, all this crap. But again, your soul is sitting there and it's like, hey man, hey girl, I want to go over here. And I'm telling you, go over there, go through the cocoon, go through the pain, because it will change you into something that you've always wanted to be. And this is where I come in as a coach. I get to help people have that future foresight because I've gone through and I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people do it as well. So I know what the path is like. And that's what I get to do with people, helping them shift their minds around that so they can step into the highest version of themselves. But if you're not willing to do it, you're going to stay stuck in this loop that you don't even want to be in. And remember, you have one life. You really want to let some illusion hold you back because your brain's telling you that it's scary and fear. No. How do you heal? You go inwards. You go through it. You allow yourself to experience the fear, the trauma, the pain, and you grow through it on the other side. Right? So for me, when I was experiencing that financial abundance, I'd go back and next thing you know, I'd start stepping into stress and overwhelm, right? And I'd create chaos in my life and it'd go downhill. The last time I ever did it though, I would experience financial abundance. I noticed the pattern going downhill and I stepped through it. I said, no. I'm not going through this again. So what I did is I stopped feeling the fear and the pain. I actually went inwards. I got the hypnosis done. I got help and guides and coaching through this. And I rewired old limiting beliefs and ideas that I had around finances and money and stress. And I healed through those and I stepped into the version of myself who I actually want to be. The abundant person. The person who doesn't have that fear and stress around wealth. The person who flows freely. That's who I actually want to be. And guess what? Everything will just keep getting better and better when we do that. Because now you're stepping into abundance and growth, the unknown, but you're becoming the creator of your life and you're no longer being the victim to your old programming and limiting beliefs. That is so good. So good. So after you change your idea around the pain, right? After you change the idea around the pain and you're willing to go through the pain and you let go of resistance, by the way, resistance is holding on to that fear and doubt. It's waking up every day worried, right? Anxious. Oh my God, what's my financial situation going to look like? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, I got this bills coming up. You're stepping back into pain programming then. You have to step into, it's all going to work out in my highest favor. I am so abundant. Things have always worked out for me. They always have. Step into that version of yourself. Both experiences will be the same experiences, but one's going to be so much better for you in the end, and it's going to transform you than the other path. And it's all the way that you're looking through your lens, right? All the way that you decide to experience it, the way that you want to look at it. Because in life, nothing actually has inherently meaning. It's you that give experiences meaning. So when you're going through those stress, you could look at it, right? I could have looked at it as, oh, this is actually helping me grow and get better. Or I could say, this is terrible. I got to back off what I'm doing because this is way too scary out there. I got to go back into my old ways, right? It's like the analogy of the story of the people who stepped out of the cave. They saw the light, they saw the beauty. But the people in the cave were like, nah, you're crazy. I'm not going out there. It's too scary. I'm staying in the cave. Sorry. All right. Well, enjoy the cave. Like, I'm going to go explore this amazing new world. That's what's waiting for you on the other side of this cocoon. I can guarantee it. I freaking promise. I lived it, experienced it. And I've seen so many people do it as well. And it's so beautiful. So once you go in through that, the next phase is then you got to change your limiting beliefs, the patterns, the programming that you've had your whole life. Or different times in your life that may have popped up. It's not as hard as you think. But going through that and changing the rewind, changing the patterns, and then you got to make a new decision moving forward. Moving forward, will you stay in that abusive relationship or will you leave into a new empowered version of yourself? Will you be safe and secure in your own skin so you don't need someone else? Right? Will you let go of attachment? So for example, if you're someone who is always anxious and worried about your kids, will you step into trust and faith or will you step into fear and anxiety? The next time that they want to go out, it's up to you. Make the decision. Do you want the same program and patterns that are causing this anxiety and stress and this crappy feeling, or do you want the better feeling? It's all a decision. Because what happens is that, now we're getting a little woohoo here, but what happens is that basically everything in life is created through vibration, frequency, and energy. Everything is a manifestation to it. So you as a person, you as a being, you're living in a certain frequency of fear, anxiety, doubt, whatever it may be. These belief systems are creating it. Basically what you're doing when you change that pattern, right? When you change your thoughts, your thinking, your feeling, your beliefs, you're stepping into a new frequency of yourself. So therefore, your reality is going to reshape itself around your beliefs, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions in life. And you will then get different experiences and results. So you will no longer go back to the old patterns of struggle and suffering because it's not even who you are anymore. Even if the same experience happens, you're going to look at it completely different and you'll experience it completely different because you are a different person. You're thinking, seeing, believing, and acting differently than who you are before from your old programming. So the next last piece is to keep consistent, keep letting go of resistance, working through it, get into your flow of life, and build that self-belief and that confidence. Now, doing that inner work, I promise you, is going to change everything in your life. And I want you to come back to this training and comment below after you've done the work and let me know what your personal experience has been. Okay? Step into the new version of you. The person who you want to be, who's no longer suffering and struggling with all these things I mentioned, they're waiting for you. They're just on a different frequency, which means they believe differently about themselves, they think differently about themselves, they act differently in life, and they feel differently all the time. And therefore, they're getting different results. So be patient, trust in it, and step into it, and get out of the bug stage. Get into the cocoon and come out as that beautiful butterfly. That is the best life ever. I can promise you that. No small plans, no small gains. Follow your biggest desires. Follow what you love most in life. Remember, you only have one life. So do what you genuinely want and get out of this prison that's not even actually real. It's only real to you personally, who've created it through past experiences, beliefs, traumas, patterns. But you're not stuck. You can ascend. You can change. Go through it. I promise you, you will live the best life possible. Okay, remember, expansion, contraction. Go through the contractions and spiral upwards and not in a loop. That is the training for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this training a lot. And if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment on what your personal opinion was about this. And I would love to hear your feedback too, 2 months from now, on what your new experiences are after you flow through this. I love you all though, and I'm right here to support and help you however I can. Have an amazing day.